Aloha, everyone. Today is February 5th, 2025. The year is just flying through. I am looking forward to today to do some hopefully live coaching with a volunteer or two if we have enough time. I am going to put out right away in the comments here how to get through if you do want to volunteer. These are always so good when we get someone to volunteer because it allows for me to do some speed coaching. So if you're facing any kind of challenge, obviously a lot of traders come in to get coached, but truly, if you're in the middle of any kind of challenge, feel free to come in. If you're watching on X, I'm going to put the link about how to come in right underneath the live itself. So feel free to click that. If you're watching on YouTube, it should be right there to the right of the screen. Instagram, I think you can also use that link and it should also work on LinkedIn. So ultimately, what does that involve? It would involve you coming in on camera to talk briefly about one of the challenges you're in the middle of having. And then I tackle it with you in real time, right there in the hot seat. So I hope that we have enough people here today that know me, that trust me. But look, at the end of the day, there are people that don't know me. And I just thought I would talk a little bit about who the heck I am because look, you guys aren't going to trust me until you understand who I am and where I come from. So, who am I? Kim Ann Curtin, the Wall Street coach. I've been an executive and trading coach for 18, maybe 19 years now. The years go so fast, I kind of lose track. I have been working with traders. A lot of the traders, when I first started my business almost 2 decades ago, were institutional traders because I was working in finance before I started my coaching practice. I worked at King Street Capital, which is one now still one of the top hedge funds in the world. It was a very picky place. So once you got into that amazing firm, most people didn't leave. But I hired a coach, an executive coach who's trained in the same style of coaching that I practice now, which is called coactive coaching. And I basically had a life changing experience. And because of that, I felt called to walk away from a very robust salary and start my own coaching practice. Now, I can remember leaving this amazing firm with amazing people, and my colleagues were like, "Are you crazy?" And I was like, no, this is what I'm born to do is coach. And they were just like, I think you might want to rethink that, Kim. And I can't say I have not ever questioned if that was a mistake because it is nice to get a paycheck every 2 weeks. And that paycheck was hearty. But I am doing what I love to do. And I am very good at it. And I see the clients that I work with create the transformation they need. Now, because the focus for these last 5 years, maybe going on six, have been more day traders, they are experiencing not only transformation for themselves, but also for their trading accounts. And I want that to be really clear. My approach is not going to be for everybody. My approach and my style of coaching is different than a lot of other performance coaches out there. And that is, something I kind of lead with. I want people to understand uh, that I am not the same as a lot of coaches out there. But I don't need to be because I have my style. And the clients that come to me resonate with this style. And the clients that don't, or the prospects that don't, they will go work with another kind of coach. There's more than enough to go around. And I feel you got to find the coach that fits you. You have to have that simpatico or harmony, so to speak. It is like a dance partner, and there are going to be people who have a different rhythm. So if it doesn't feel like I'm your cup of tea, no harm, no foul. But if it does feel like I'm your cup of tea, then please reach out, send me a DM, whatever, to see if what and how I work with traders is for you. It may or may not be, but there's only one way to find out. Second, I would like to thank our sponsor, Opal Securities. You guys can see their name at the top right. Opal Securities is able to sponsor this. That's why I'm able to do these live events. So I want to thank them. And they are for elite traders. Elite traders choose Opal for a lot of reasons, but primarily their best in class fee structure, and also their locate inventory, and also their bespoke nature. So their attention to their clients is going to be top shelf, really white glove service. So if you would like to minimize your costs and you want to maximize your trading business, I hope you'll also reach out to me and I'll make an introduction to them personally. So today's topic, I have a couple of topics I'm going to bring forward, but my focus as a coach is to really help traders end their self sabotage and really master their mindset. And how I do that, what the focus is primarily on, is through a particular tool that I use, which I call my Trader Positioning Index. It is an assessment that is unlike any assessment you have ever experienced. Remember, guys, I'm almost 30 years now in the finance world. I have seen every kind of assessment there has ever been. And this assessment I never saw. It is like an x-ray of your work side and on your self side. This, when I do this with traders, there is so much shock. They are shocked at what this thing can measure. It is almost too much information. Most traders need to lay down for a few minutes after they get their results because it's so incredibly revealing that it's a lot to digest. And in fact, I can't tell you how many clients initially will sometimes push back over this or this, and then be like, Kim, I don't think that particular thing about me is accurate, or I am surprised it said this. And then a week goes by or 2 weeks go by, and they come back to their session and they're like, oh my God. Yes, yes, it's true. That is me. I just didn't want to face it. I didn't want to see it. I really didn't see it. And now, as I really sit and cook on it, I can tell, holy crap, that is something I do. I can't even tell you how many traders have come back to me, sort of like hat in hand, like, oh my God, that thing nailed me. That is why every client that I work with starts with that assessment, because it saves both of us a ton of time. It saves both of us. Look, I love to coach, but I don't want to have to coach somebody for years. I want to get in there. I want to help them get rewired, get out of their own way, and then they're off. That's how I like to coach. Not every coach is like that. Not every therapist is like that. Again, everybody's got their own style. But that is why every trader that comes into me, to this firm, to this practice, I start them with that assessment, that trader assessment, because it's going to set the parameters right from the get-go, guys, of where you are in your own way. Now, you might think, oh, yeah, I know I'm in my own way, Kim. I know I'm self-sabotaging. But if you don't know what is self-sabotaging you, you can't really do anything about it. You might be like, yeah, FOMO, or yeah, Kim, I don't know how to cut a loss. But that is, again, sort of a symptom, right? What is the cause of that? And that is probably the first thing that I want to just put forward for everybody to just consider for themselves. If you have these cursory descriptions of yourself, like, yes, I don't know how to cut a loss quick enough. I don't follow my own strategy. Again, whatever it is for you. Yes, I have a tendency to feel FOMO. I want you to take what, and it could be a bunch of other things that you stumble into all the time, not enough confidence. Not a willingness to not trade at all, just have to be in it all the time. A feeling of it being like an addiction, which does happen for a lot of traders. I want you to think, though, that these things are symptoms, right? If the best metaphor that I can use is, imagine a beautiful grass lawn, right? This beautiful lawn, and there are dandelions that keep growing on this beautiful grass, and you're frustrated by it, and you just pull those dandelions up. Well, guess what's going to happen in a couple of weeks or a month or two? Those dandelions are going to come back, because if you don't get to the heart of the matter, what is causing those dandelions to grow, you're going to just forever be pulling up the weeds. That is what I see a lot of traders do. A lot of traders focus on the dandelions. Well, it's just FOMO, Kim. Well, it's just me having to be more patient. Well, it's just me needing to be more confident. And what I say is, those things are what you are paying attention to, but they aren't the cause in and of themselves. There is stuff underneath that is creating that behavior. And that's why I love my assessment, because this assessment is going to be able to help you see, oh, it's because I am hyperly overcritical to myself. I am consistently being neglectful of my basic self care. My score around big picture is compromised. And when I get into work mode, I don't pause and look up and look around to see what else is in the vicinity. Often day traders have a very strong work side score. That means they can plow through a mountain of work with one arm tied behind their back, because they have already worked so hard to get where they are. But if you have a really strong work side score and you have a really compromised big picture score, you are going to potentially just be working harder all the time, not necessarily smarter. And being able to see that is game changing. It's one thing to have a coach identify this for you. It's one thing to have a friend or a colleague or another trader point this things they see about you out, right? Oh, you know what? I notice all the time. If you have a Discord room and you have colleagues and you're talking about trades and you're talking about, well, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and if they are close to you, they're going to, you always say that you seem to chase trades. There's going to be things that your comrades see you do, and they could be pointing it out to you, which is hopefully what a good collective of friends and colleagues that are on your side will do. But here's the thing, guys, somebody seeing it in you is very different than you seeing it in you. When you see it in you, there is a wake up call that happens throughout you. I've recently had that happen to me with some of how we handle our social media. I have been in the middle of a very intense education about how incorrect. I have been doing so much of my own social media. I haven't had a hook. I haven't had a call to action, like some basic things that I didn't even freaking know about. And that is apparently keeping, from my YouTube channel to my Instagram account to my X account, not as attractive to followers as it apparently could be. Let me tell you how disturbing that was to find out, right? I knew something was wrong because the numbers seemed to be like hitting a ceiling, but the intensity of me having to come to terms with that hard truth was heartache. Like tears were shed. I was like, oh my God, all this work with regards to the social media, and yet I'm doing it incorrectly. So that is the initial kind of wake up call when you have hard truths come into your face. But the landing of it, the connectivity of it, because I was taking these courses and working with these different coaches myself and finding out, oh, look, that there's a formula. Look, there's a template to follow, which I didn't know before. Stupid me. Like, that's what it feels like. You're like, oh my God, how could I not know this? I should have known this, right? But I'm too busy just trying to be an excellent coach, not an excellent marketer. But it's still a huge cost, a huge mistake that I made. So facing that about myself is a very hard, painful truth. And I've been dealing with that for the past 4 weeks. It's like, oh my God, how did I not see this? But guys, when that happens for you, you can't unsee it. I can't unsee all the places where I haven't been following this kind of marketing template, right? Once you see where you're potentially holding yourself back, it is so empowering. It's painful at first. Yes, you're gonna cry. Yes, you're gonna need somebody to give you a pep talk to get up off the bathroom floor, but then you're gonna be like, "Okay, now I know where I have to put my focus. Now I know what I have to do." That then becomes a place of empowerment instead of just going back and pulling, freaking dandelions off the grass. You can actually stop those dandelions from growing in the first place. And that is what I want for everybody listening to this conversation now, whether you're a trader, an investor, or just a stay at home mom or dad. I want you guys to really get that being someone who's courageous enough to take a hard look at how you are trading, how you are operating, how you are working, how you are living is going to change the game. You cannot change that which you do not see. And I get that sometimes the seeing is uncomfortable, but you know what's more uncomfortable? Living asleep, being somebody who is not awake, not in tune. Because think about how much cost, specifically to your trading account, you would be incurring over 3 years, 5 years, a decade, 2 decades. If you can't be with those hard truths, especially in the middle of a trading day, you are going to pay with your capital. And I don't want to see that happen. So, all right, I'm going to pause. Anybody has any questions? Anybody wants to come in for a hot seat? Raise your hand. Take that Restream link that I just put out. I did put it out on X. Just all you have to do is click that button and it will bring you right into this green room here. And then I will I will pull you into the room and I can do some speed coaching of you right here in the moment if you're game to do it. But if you're not game to do it and you feel a little nervous coming on camera, you can put your comments in the bar right there. I will see them. I do have X open on my screen, so you can always send me a DM inside of X as well. And What else did I want to say? Oh, I did want to talk about one of the things that I do keep having show up in a lot of different trading clients is there a lot of times trading draws in people who are very smart, people who are, oh, good, computer accountant, come on in. I'm so glad. So, do you see the link? You're on YouTube. So, if you click that Restream link, computer account, um, that will pull you in, and then I can bring you into the room. So, you just have to click that, and then it will alert me once you did. So, hopefully, that works for you. And I'm so glad you're going to come in. Thank you for volunteering because it's always just so more lively when I have somebody talking with instead of just talking at the screens. So I'm really glad you'll come in. Hope if that isn't clear in any way, uh, just let me know. But all you have to do is just click that link, and then Restream will tell me you're in the green room, and I will approve you, and we'll get coaching you right away. Um, so until computer account comes in, I'm going to just finish this little dialogue. So what I was saying before is that one of the things I do notice is that trading can often draw smart people, successful people, people who have run their own companies, have multiple companies, people who have already accomplished quite a lot in their life. And often those traders who have come from other careers that come and find themselves into trading, one of the things that I often do with traders, and I'm sure you guys have seen this before, and I'm going to actually get the link now because I want to reiterate you all sign up for this. This is the okay, good. I can hear you, computer account. Let's see, where are you? I'm looking because I just heard what sounded like somebody coming in. So, computer account, can you hear me? Do you feel like you're in the green room? I'm looking for you. So, let's see here. Yep, there you are. I just need you to put your camera on if that's okay. Computer account, can you hear me? Hey, how are you?
Yes.
Good. It's
How
good to
you
see you.
doing? You probably recognize me.
I
This
do
is Gardy.
recognize you. I do. How are you?
I'm okay. How's everything?
Everything is good. Everything is good. I'm trying
Mm.
to make us be next to each other, but I don't know if I'm doing it right. So let's see. There
My
you are.
signal, my signal's awful. I'm actually in the train station, but I wanted to
Okay.
make sure I joined.
Okay, good. I'm so glad you did. So please tell me, what can I coach you on? And you have a
Okay,
colleague there
so
with you, a friend with
yeah,
you.
That's my daughter. We
It's
just came
nice.
from dance class.
That's awesome. What kind of dance style does she dance?
She does ballet and tap.
That's very impressive. I used to do
Yeah.
jazz. You can tell her I used to do jazz.
She's on the call. I have her using one of the headsets.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. How you doing? I'm so jealous that you don't tap. Tap is so hard. Oh my god. So
Oh, my
what would you
communication.
like
Hold on.
some
So I'm trying to make sure we
what
have
would
signal.
okay, you got it. You
Oh,
got it.
trying to reconnect. Okay, let's
Sure, you
get
got it.
closer here. So
Okay.
I don't know if you could
Are you
hear
in
me,
the
Kim.
subway?
I'm having trouble hearing
Are
you.
you are you in the
Um,
are you in the New York City
you know what?
subway?
Let's go back outside. Yeah. Hold on. I'm gonna go outside
Okay. You got it. Take your time. Take your time.
so it
It
doesn't
looks
drop
as
because I'm having a
as
hard
a
time hearing you.
former city girl, that looks like the New York City subway system. Am I correct?
So I'm gonna talk. You could probably hear me. So I'm gonna
Yeah,
explain to you what's happening. And to put it
please
in a
do.
nutshell, I'm drowning. Okay. So here's what's happening. I know I should be covering. I know I should be taking profit. But for some odd reason, I always want more. So I'll give you a recent example. This happened yesterday, and this destroyed my account. So I was in the trade. I got into the trade at 575. My target was 420. I could see that it was basing at 480. I did take some off. It bounced off 480. It went back up. I added. It came back down. I took some more profit. Then it went back up. I added more, and it continued going back up. Instead of me cutting, I was like, no, it's gonna come back down. It's gonna come back down. Well, little did I know, it not only did it not come back down, I didn't stop out, and it continued going to the moon. So I gave back everything I made at that 480, and then some. Then I swung it overnight, thinking day two it'll fail, and then I gave it more. So I don't know what it is. I have an issue. I take profit, but there's always a part of me saying, okay, wait for more, wait for more. Meanwhile, I could tell on the chart that there's no more. This is it, Gardy. It bottom out. Just take your money or at least break even on the rest. I just don't do it. I'm always fighting for more when there's no more.
Yeah. So this might seem like a very unusual question, but first let me check. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. So is this practice of more something that you see outside of your trading?
I'm trying to think. Not necessarily. It's more with the trading. It's more with the money. Let's put it
Mhm.
that way.
Okay.
I'm
So
the only one working, so this is one of my incomes. So it's like I need the money, so I have
yeah,
to wait for it to keep going down.
totally.
Even if I made $1,000 for the day, oh, let me take another trade. No,
Right,
walk away. You're done for the
right, right.
day. Walk away.
So I'm so happy that you said that in reference to the money. This often is about our relationship, even though it sounds kind of crazy, to scarcity, right? Because if the scarcity is where we're coming from, regardless of how much money we have, like you could be a millionaire and still be coming from an energy of scarcity, right? And that
Mhm.
experience of not enough, I need more, I need more. I would say that is coming not just in the trading account, but is possibly sort of a perspective that is flowing into how you're trading.
Okay.
So this is a very unusual practice, but here's what I'm going to recommend. I'm going to recommend a couple of books. You just pick one of these books that you want to read. But here's what I'd like you to do, which is an exercise from this one of these books. I would like you to take take a $20 bill and break it into singles. And each of those
Okay.
singles, I want you to pour kind of like your good juju into those singles. And as you give those singles out, to this person, that person, I want you to see if how they respond to the money is different. Does-
Okay. So give the singles
yeah,
to
but
anyone.
you're buying a cup of coffee with it. You're spending that
Okay.
money. But
Okay.
ultimately, what is this exercise in service to? It's it's in reference to your relationship to money. Does that make sense? I
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
to start to investigate what is your relationship to money. That is what we want to look at, because yes, obviously there's a issue with the trade itself and you not following your pattern. But again, if
Mhm.
you heard the start of this conversation, what I want everybody to always look for is not just the action, the behavior, but what could be informing it. And what's possibly informing it is you feeling like you don't have enough money, regardless of like what you get, how much you make that day.
I got here like 5:20 something. It's like 80 years old.
Does
Okay.
that make sense? So
That
here's
makes
the
sense.
book. I'm going to give you two books T. Harv Eker. His book is called Secrets of a Millionaire Mind.
I got that book. I started listening to it because you recommended it on a previous podcast, I think last week or 2 weeks
Perfect.
ago. So I
Perfect.
got it. I
And
got that.
here is the other title that is going to sound so crazy. Okay. Money is love. Get
Okay.
that book too. It is a spiritual book, but it is a fascinating book about our relationship to money.
Money
Money
is
is
love.
love.
Okay.
But you guys have to tell me, are
Okay.
you in the New York City subway system?
Yes, we are. I'm sitting in the
I
stairway.
missed it. I missed the subway. I saw
So we're literally in the
where. What
stairways.
station are you guys at?
We're at 59th Street,
Oh,
Columbus.
Columbus Circle.
Yeah.
I miss it so much. Please, somebody go into Time Warner. But Borders isn't there anymore, is it? Borders is gone. Borders.
one?
Borders Books and Music used to be at Columbus Circle.
No, there's they built a whole new mall there now. So yeah, tons of the big
They
stores.
used to
over
have
there.
Borders in that beautiful Time Warner Center, but I think it went
Yeah.
out of business. So
And
that is
it's-
okay. So Money is Love is going to have you start to be with what is this relationship to money like for you. And the reason we want to do that is because if you're coming from a place of scarcity, if you're coming from you followed your pattern and yet it doesn't feel like enough money, then there's something about you coming from the energy. Here are the catchphrases of have to, must, should. So have to, must, should. Do those three phrases feel like the energy you're in? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So when we're in that energy of have to, must, should about anything, we are kind of being hijacked. And the key is we don't want you or your trading hijacked. It's dangerous because you're
Correct.
not thinking straight.
Correct. That's very true.
So, it's possible that you might need to pause the trading until you can get yourself unhooked from the have to, must, should. And money can really trigger us because money represents safety. So I would say let's make sure you do a little healing around whatever that is first before you put capital on the line. Okay. What is your first name if you're
Okay.
comfortable sharing?
Oh yeah,
Gardy.
Gardy. We met
I
at Trader for
thought so,
Cause,
Gar-
and
I thought so,
yeah, I'm part of Nate's. I'm part
Oh,
of IU.
that's so great. That's so great. I'm so
Yeah.
glad you came in, Gardy. Thank you. Please
But
stay in
when I
touch.
saw the
Let
topic
me-
today, it fit perfectly with what I'm going through this week. I'm like, oh, I have to join.
I am so
So-
glad you did. I can't believe the city subway gives you enough Wi-Fi to join.
Yeah, right. So okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
All right, and tell your
I'm
daughter
gonna
to
try
check
that.
out. Tell her to check out my school. It was on West 57th Street. Do you know the dance company? It's Broadway Dance
Alvin
Company.
Ailey.
Broadway
Oh,
Dance
Broadway Dance.
Company.
That's a couple of blocks down, but she goes to Alvin Ailey, which is I think is right next
Oh,
to Broadway Dance Company.
Alvin Ailey's even better. Alvin Ailey's
Yeah,
even
that's
better.
what she goes. Yeah.
But if she ever wants to do
Mm.
jazz, she should see Sue Samuels at Broadway Dance Company. She was my instructor for like a decade, and she is
Okay.
the best jazz teacher out there.
Okay, you hear that
Okay.
from me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Okay, aloha, guys. Great to see
Thank you very
Thanks
much,
for
Kim.
coming in. Thank you.
No problem.
Oh, that was awesome. It was so nice to be back at the New York City subway. Once his camera tilted and I saw the ceiling. I mean, there's only one New York City subway ceiling. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So anyway, I hope that served everybody because there is no doubt there are a lot of traders who have yet to have their relationship to money unpacked. There's so many people who have yet to unpack their relationship to money. And you guys have heard me talk about money before. I have strongly recommended traders do due diligence about what their relationship to money is, because especially for traders that are creating a lot of success for themselves, a lot of capital, that can become rather disorientating in a lot of ways. Because when you make a lot of money fast, there can sometimes be this experience inside where it feels somewhat incongruent. I was talking to you guys earlier about, one of the hedge funds I worked at. I worked at another hedge fund before King Street, and that place, my life changed overnight with what I started to make monetarily, and I was very shaken up over it. I had a lot of feelings of not feeling like I was worthy of it. I had a lot of feelings of fear that if I spent the money, I would suddenly get laid off. Like I had all these kind of like crazy emotional fears that were getting triggered. I've shared with you guys all how I was really longing for this very expensive Tom Ford lipstick, and I, had more than enough money, but I had to walk around Saks Fifth Avenue like 3 times because I felt guilty wanting to spend my money on that lipstick. So when you start to, if you come from I had a crazy childhood. So I lived these like really incredibly wealthy lifestyle on the weekends. And then my mom, who was a single mom, really struggling, I qualified for free lunch at school. So I was constantly in these very extremes. Like my mom's car didn't have heat in the wintertime. We lived at that time on Long Island, and the brakes went on this piece of crap car she was driving. And then on the weekends, I would be experiencing like the Stutz Bearcat, which is like, it was at one point, I don't know what it is now, but it was like the second most expensive car in the world, So I was constantly shuffling between these two financial extremes. Like my mother could barely afford groceries, and then I would be on these weekends at private country clubs and Bonwit Teller and Tiffany's and Broadway shows. Like, so I had to do a lot of work, guys, around my relationship to money. And I still have work to do. Like, it's not like it's over, but it's not, I don't feel as triggered as I had been. So the key here is, if you have yet to unpack your relationship to money, do it, because it is, I promise, if you don't have that clear, it is holding you back in certain ways. Today's example with Gardy is the perfect example. The two that comes upon him, right, when he's made some money, but it's not enough. Have to make more, should make more, need to make more. That is got to be kind of dismantled so that you don't get hijacked, especially in a trade. Even though it's going against him, that have to, should, must energy is kind of taking him over. But money has so much connection to our nervous system, because it is, you guys, they talk about topics you're not supposed to talk about, like in cocktail parties, like, they say sex and religion, but those two don't even cause people as much fluttering of their feathers as money does. You could talk about sex and you could talk about politics way before you could talk about money, because money is so triggering. So ask yourself, you could come from a poor middle class background. You could come from a working class background. You could come with being born with a silver spoon in your mouth, or any variety of those. And I can promise you, underneath whatever it was that you grew up with, wherever you find yourself now, the station you're in, the class level you're in now, it has something to do with what you grew up with, what you grew around, what the beliefs about money are that you bought hook, line, and sinker and never even possibly unpacked them. I can't even tell you how many people don't even realize that the beliefs their parents had, their close family had, their neighbors or the friends they hung out with, there were beliefs about people who were rich. There were beliefs about people who were working class. There are stories, archetypes that people speak about when we're kids, and we don't even realize we just absorb those stories as if that is the truth. And that goes with you invisibly when you are finding yourself in a trade and either you're afraid because you're afraid you can't lose any money or you're afraid because you're not making enough. And I would much rather have everybody do a little bit of work at understanding what is their relationship to money right now, because then you won't be invisibly necessarily driven. Doesn't mean you won't still have the uh, thought come up. You won't have, it doesn't mean you, the feeling, the experience, the trigger isn't going to ever happen again. I still have my triggers, right? And now I'm very conscious of my triggers. I can see that trigger coming a mile away, and I can put in reinforcements to help me navigate it. I just finished reading a fiction novel, and one of the characters in the book, so, the poverty that I did live through was bad, guys. Like sometimes there was not that much money for food, and we had to be very careful with how we got the food so we could eat. I mean, that you don't ever forget that. If you have ever found yourself potentially not in a position to eat enough food because of money, that is an imprint. That is trauma that you never forget. I will never forget what that felt like. And how can that not impact me to this day? That was part of why I had guilt getting that expensive lipstick, because I could remember that kind of, incredible feeling of not having even enough food. So the book that I just recently read, it was very emotional for me because this one character uh, shares how this book is, it's a fiction novel, but the author speaks to characters that she used from real life historical figures that she uses in her book as characters. And this one woman who comes from Russia lived through this 3-year period where everybody was starving across Russia, and she lost her family members to starvation. And so this character has these little Thursday night dinners where she invites her neighbors over, and the entry fee to this is a can of food, a can of soup, a can of vegetables, whatever. So what it's kind of quirky. You're like, oh, that's the price of admission. You got to bring a can of food. But what we learn later in the book is the reason she has everybody bring a can of food. And even though now she's obviously in a different position, she's still somewhat like a frugal gal, but she's not having to worry about starvation anymore. This was, 10, 20 years ago. But she speaks in the book that the reason she requests these cans is when she can't sleep at night, when the memories of her not having enough food, losing her sister to starvation, her parents to starvation, her uncles, extended family, she will go and count all the cans that she has in her house to make sure her nervous system knows that it would take her 92 days before she would go hungry, because she keeps those cans that she asks as the ticket of entry in her cabinets. She never eats them. She's saving them, so to speak, for, God forbid, that scenario presents itself again. So what we learn is that that is her way of staying safe. What we learn is that her experience around scarcity is not so much monetary, but around food itself. So she is a collector of all these cans over the years because that makes her feel safe. Now, part of what's so phenomenal about this story and this book, it's called The Briar Club, in case anybody wants to read it. There's a lot more going on in that book than that. But I really was moved. And I, in fact, had to do some work around that passage and explanation. And it brought up for me that incredible period of my life. And it made me feel like, oh my God, I kind of have gotten so far away from that that I forgot that I even lived through that. And I could relate to that feeling of wanting to hoard food or hoard cans to be safe. Like I get emotional now just even thinking about it. So all this is in service to the fact that each of us have this print upon us. And this can also be the case for those, like I said, in addition, we didn't have that poverty while we were also experiencing the wealth on the weekends. It was different times of our life. But I also know what it's like to have that kind of very high level wealth, the experience of being around very wealthy people, the experience of, shopping in stores that a lot of people never get to shop in. So these kinds of prints are upon all of us. We can see different family members get treated differently because of their lifestyle. All of these are the invisible stories that weave a tapestry around what your current relationship to money is. And that is going to affect you when it comes to getting yourself out of a trade when you should, getting yourself in a trade, because if you are so in scarcity, you are not going to potentially take trades that are completely appropriate to take because you are in an experience of so much scarcity, regardless of what your bank account says, regardless of what your trading account says, because this stuff is hardwired within us until we look it in the eye and heal it and address it and come to terms with it. And that ultimately is a big part of what happens in coaching, especially for traders. It will show up in certain ways. And then, of course, the inquiry begins. Is this a relationship to money? Because often money is also tied to worth, to our value, to how we see ourselves. And it can get very tricky if, again, that level of just noticing isn't turned up. And it's important that it is turned up. All right, I am just noticing that I didn't have the comments up. So Joe Romano, I'm just seeing your very beautiful note. Thank you for all you do and have done with this community, Kim, Lucas, and all who represent your team. Thank you, Joe. That is so sweet. Oh, Trader Prod, I haven't seen you in so long. It's so good to see you. Well, you're here now, Trader Prod. And if you want some coaching, come on in. And that is true for you, Joe. And that's true for you, Trader Prod. If you guys want to come in for any speed coaching, please feel free. I went off on a tangent there. I forgot to show the comments or look at the comments myself. So pardon me. I was just going down a rabbit hole, but I'm seeing them now. They're all up. So let me share the link again in case you guys want to come in. Well, I'm glad you're here too, Trader Prod. It's been a long time. All right. If you do want to come in, gentlemen, please feel free to take this link. Let me double check on X, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, that link on X, guys, is right underneath my live stream. So you can just click on that and come right in if you want. And if not, that's okay too. But I just want to make sure that you guys feel welcome to come in. And Joe, you're so sweet. Thank you for saying that. Joe, I'm so sad to say that Lucas isn't here anymore. I miss him so much. Wasn't he the best? I mean, he's still out there, but he's not here and not helping me co-host the Wall Street Coach podcast. And by the way, guys, we have a couple of podcasts ready to drop. I was very fortunate to get to interview Matthew Monaco, and Matt and I met many years ago when we both were at Steady Trade, Stocks to Trade, and he just did a great interview. So that's going to drop soon. And then I also got to interview S&P Capital's Jeff Holden. So I'm excited to share that with you as well. We all apologize for our rants, but that's where the good stuff lies. Okay, good. I'm glad the ranting is, you like the ranting, Joe. You're a sweetheart for saying that. Thank God, or I would be in trouble if you guys didn't like the rants, or I guess nobody would show, right? If the rants were annoying. So yeah, I got myself all worked out. So, but I think it's really an important conversation because that's how emotional all of us are about money. And a lot of times, especially for guys, I think it's something, look, you guys are men for the most part are not encouraged or kind of rewarded to be emotional, to let those emotions show, right? If I tear up, nobody's going to call me a pansy, but for a guy to potentially express, any kind of discomfort or fear or, especially because so much of masculinity in our culture has collapsed for men, their worth with their accomplishments, right? Men have a really, really hard time being able to extradite themselves from their worthiness if they aren't accomplishing something. And that is such a setup, and it frustrates me because I want all men to see that their inherent value, their inherent worthiness is not dependent on what you accomplish. Now, trust me, I get that sounds like speaking heresy, but it's the truth. And I feel that a lot of times when men get themselves in over their heads with different things, it's simply because of this cultural expectation that they have to prove themselves. And look, I get that men are built different than women, but there is a fundamental belief somewhere that unless you produce, you don't get to be seen as enough. And I don't believe that that is something that is the truth. I think we all need to inherently know we are enough. This is Marissa Peer put it powerfully. You are enough. You have always been enough, and you will always be enough. But if you grew up in a household or an environment where your potential parents or caregivers didn't know that they were enough, likely they taught you that you were not enough in your inherent worth. And if that is what you lived with, then I can promise you, you are definitely going to take that into whatever you pour yourself into, trying to always earn it. And that I do see a lot with traders, regardless of how successful they are. there is often a tendency of their sense of identity being completely connected to what their success is monetarily or in their trading. And it is a very dangerous place to be, because whenever we have our sense of worthiness attached to an external force, an external place to look for something, we've surrendered agency. Agency is how any of us can feel empowered. But if we depend on external factors for our sense of feeling like we're enough, feeling like we're worthy, we can easily become disempowered, because that agency needs to lie within ourselves. We cannot surrender to external forces to give us a sense of ourselves. That has to be from within. And we become very vulnerable to so many factors that are not in our best benefit if we surrender that agency. And this is, I've talked about this with clients. I don't know if I've talked about it in these lives, but I'm going to speak to it now. I want you guys to look up, his name just went out of my head. Give me a second here. Slow-mo. I want you to look up slow-mo. Let me just make sure quick. Yep, slow-mo. Slomo. I want you to look up slow-mo story. There's like a 15-minute video out there on YouTube about slow-mo. I think it's either a small movie clip, documentary about him, or it was from 60 Minutes. It doesn't matter. If you look up slow-mo on YouTube, you're going to see his story. Slow-mo is a great example of a man, a former doctor, who took his agency back. A person who was very much caught up in his career, in his accomplishments, in what he did, in how the world viewed him, how he viewed himself, and his journey is a great representation of what life looks like when you decide your value is an inside job and not based on external factors. Now, Slow-mo has a very interesting story of what he does now, which I don't want to spoil it, so please go watch it. However, that isn't necessarily something I think that is for everyone, his life choices. However, there is a freedom in whether he chooses to do what he's doing now or change paths. He has agency. And I really think at the end of the day, the traders that become completely invincible in a lot of ways are the traders, in my experience, those that I've met, those that I've read about, those that I've studied, those that I got to interview for my book, Transforming Wall Street, because I got to interview some really incredible traders in that book that are like some of the top in the world. And I would say if there's one thing they all have in common, it is a sense of agency. Their value, their sense of who they fundamentally are is not based on what they accomplish, but who they know they are with or without their trading. And look, that may feel like it's elusive to you right now, but I promise you, it is not that elusive. It is truly a journey of self-discovery. But that becomes, if you guys remember, I've talked at length about Csikszentmihalyi, that Russian author who wrote the book Flow, FLOW. It's in reference to being in a flow state. How do you get into a flow state? Well, you have to be able to stand in a place of unattachment. You have to be able to stand in a place of neutrality. One of the things Gardy said in that conversation was that sense of, not being neutral, that sense of have to, must, should. As soon as you hear that, guys, with your trading, with relationships, with business opportunities, that is the moment that you come back to front and center and say to yourself, hold on here, hold on. Am I coming from a place of have to, must, should? And if you are, all you have to do is simply notice. That is the key, guys. You just have to simply notice. And that pops you up and out of it. And that is the key. I want you to realize that is the key. The key is to just notice I got sucked back in, and now I'm going to get myself back to center. All right. So let me get back to the comments. Joe and Trader Prot, I'm going to take it, guys, that you guys don't want to come in for some speed coaching, which is totally cool. But if you do, come in now. Because there it is. Yeah, I still have the link up there. So, but I'm going to bring it to a close. Lots to unpack today. And I hope this served you guys. I try to do these almost every Wednesday. The time varies a little bit, but it's often after market close, way after market close Eastern time. It's anywhere from, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever tonight's was, because I'm in Hawaii, so I'm 5 hours behind you guys. And it's, the middle of the day, so it's almost 3 o'clock my time. So anyway, hopefully this was of value. Here are a couple of books. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to suggest you read a couple of books. You guys probably heard the books that I was telling you about with Gardy, but here's a couple of titles. Money is Love. That's by Barbara Wilder. And the other book that I mentioned to him was T. Harv Eker's Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. That book is a game changer. The other book that I will advocate, is so many books about money that I could advocate. One of them is Money Harmony. That's by Olivia Mellon. Let me see here. I want to also get you guys the link to the Trader Positioning Index, which is the assessment I talked about. If you have yet to have a real sense of like what is going on with your trading, I promise you this assessment will rock your world and it will rock your trading. It is a game changer. So be sure to check that out if you're ready to take a very crystal clear look at what might be going on with your trading. This will just, I did it with the former CTO of Uber, and he said after he got his results that his jaw almost hit the desk. It was so surprising what it revealed and unexpected, because this is not a normal assessment, guys. All right, so what are the other books I want to speak to? I want to speak to another book which is called It's Not Your Money, and that is by Tasha Silver. And then I also want to speak to this book about money, which is how to make one hell of a profit and still go to heaven. And that is from DeMartini. What was the other one? The Soul of Money. And that is by Lynn Twist. And that is just a tremendous book. This one. This is a little obscure, but I bet you guys could find it on Amazon. It could be like used copies. The Instant Millionaire. And that's by Mark Fisher. That book is it's told in a parable. So it's a real easy read. It's like a little, fairy tale, so to speak, but packs a wallop. And then what was the other money book that I wanted to speak to you guys about? I think it's Happy Money. And that author eludes me. I'm just going to look at my shelf here because I often have the books here. I don't know if do I have Happy Money here? I don't think I do, guys, but it's a Japanese author, but it's called Happy Money. I mean, how many books are called that? That's a good start. There's other ones too. But the DeMartini book, How to Make One Hell of a Profit and Still Go to Heaven, it's an interesting book because it's going to really, again, Olivia Mellon has this assessment. She calls it Money Harmony. That's one of the books I spoke to, but her assessment is a very basic, simple kind of money check-in. But one of the things she identified is that there are those who have a relationship to money that she describes as a money monk. And those are people who have a tendency to think that those who have less money are somehow more spiritual or more good or kinder. We've all heard these catchphrases. I would love to hear your catchphrases if you have any. Like this is one of the most famous ones. It's easier for a rich man to go through the eye of a needle than to get into heaven, right? What is that saying? That is basically saying if you're rich, you're not going to get to heaven. It's going to be hard for you to get into heaven. Like, can you see how we have all these kind of catchphrases that make having a lot of money somehow negative? And so a money monk is a person who potentially unconsciously thinks that being poor or not having that much money is somehow a quality to be, proud of. And you guys, we all talk like this. If we're just think about neighborhoods, just think about friends who get a fancy car. I was watching these two guys who are very famous on YouTube, but I'm not going to say their names. But they were talking about this one guy had this very fancy car and it's an unusual color. And, his friends, waited and were like, oh, I don't like that color. And he's like, well, too bad. Like, I like that color. But the judgment that he got, I don't think really was over the color, guys. I think it was the jealousy, the feeling threatened his friends probably felt because they don't have this fancy car, right? So those who have that kind of level of wealth will still bump into people that say that they want money. And yet they are visibly showing judgment that this guy has more than they do. I could bet the house that almost everybody listening to me has at times judged somebody who is wealthier than them. Who do they think they are, right? We see this at red carpet events, like, oh, look at that outfit, look at that dress, like who she thinks she is. Like, this is just human nature, but you've got to look at where is that coming from underneath. It is going to come from a place of thinking like, oh, well, it's okay to have this much money, but if I had that much money, like what? That is what you want to really look at. The other thing that Olivia Mellon describes, besides a money monk, is a money hoarder. And I have seen this too, guys, at the very high levels of wealth where people will just hoard it. They cannot spend it. They still feel that feeling of scarcity. That's why I was saying to Gardy, this can happen with millionaires. And I'm going to tell you, it even happens with billionaires where, yes, you will see them spending it in certain ways that seem to be robust, but there could still be this sense of scarcity happening regardless of what the bank accounts say. And this would be because that person hasn't done their work around their relationship to money. So regardless of what your bank account looks like, regardless of how you grew up, if you haven't done a little bit of work looking at your relationship to money, do it. It will serve you in the long run. And it sure as heck will serve your trading account. Because if I were to interview money right now, I got to talk to money and interview it on the station right now and say, tell me, how does Peter treat you? Sue, what's Sue's relationship to you, money? What would money say? If there's any part of you that's like, oh my God, I would never want money to talk to Kim on a public channel, then ask yourself, how come? Ask yourself, why? Why would you be afraid if money had a mouth and the ability to talk about how you are with it? Why would that make you potentially nervous? Can you see that there's probably something underneath that needs to be addressed? So again, remember, guys, hold this loosely. What's my favorite song? Anybody that knows me is 38 Specials, Hold On Loosely. If you don't know it, if you're too young to even know who the hell that band is, go Google it. It's on YouTube. Hold On Loosely. Like, I bring all these things up. Maybe some of you are like, holy crap, I haven't done any work around my relationship to money. Hold it loosely. Don't take it too seriously. Don't get panic stricken. Don't get worried. Just be like, oh, wow, how fascinating. Let me take a look at this. Let me read one of those, 14 books Kim just talked about. Let me take a money harmony assessment online. That one's free, right? Just reflect. Oh, wow, what would money say about me? What are my beliefs about money? That's part of why I love T. Harv Ecker's book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, because he does pose specific questions. Oh, that was the other book I wanted to tell you guys. Hold on, let me get it. It's what is the book called? I think I'm not sure the author. I have to double check, but I'm pretty sure it's called The Secret to Money is Having Some. I think that's what it's called. The Secret to Money is Having Some. And so T. Harv Eker and that book give us a bunch of questions, prompts to help us unpack what and how we view money. And that's all. That's where it starts, guys. All you have to do is have some questions prompted, like, they're simple questions like, if you had unexpectedly gotten $10,000, what would you do with that money? Would you save it? Would you spend it? Would you give it to somebody? Would you use it for your trading? Like, all you have to do is get some prompts, and I promise your relationship to money will start to reveal itself. And it's revealing itself to you all the time, especially if you're a trader. But the key is you want to do it outside of your trading, right? Because you're going to be too triggered in there to really pay close attention. Although, of course, I would say always try to pay close attention when you're trading. But I would say do these exercises outside of your trading when you're not trading, so that you can begin to actually really see, oh yeah, how are you with tips? Do you not pay tips? Do you pay like 25% in tips? All of these are little things that are telling you things about your relationship to money, your relationship to scarcity, your relationship to your own sense of value. And I think it's an important topic, especially because as traders, your capital is going to be a big part of what is happening for you always in your trading. So I would say take a look at it before, it bites you in some way. All right. Well, today we went a little bit over. Clearly, I had a lot to say, and hopefully it served everybody. I did put up the link to the Trader Positioning Index. That's that magical assessment I told you guys about. If you want to have crystal clear clarity on how and where you're sabotaging your trading, please check this assessment out and let me know if you feel it's for you. You can buy it right there on the website, and then we will have you have all of what's going on under the hood revealed to you. And that is a very powerful moment. It's been really incredible experience to share those results with people. I did not create this assessment. Another organization did, and they came to me now about 5 years ago, and they completely rocked my world because, of course, I did it. That's how it all started. And I have never, ever, ever, to this day, still seen anything like this thing. So, if you want an x-ray of your soul and your trading, guys, this assessment is for you. All right, guys, great to be with so many of you today. Saw so many familiar faces I haven't seen in a long time. I hope all of you guys take good care of yourselves. I like to say be kind to your mind all the time, because I find traders in general have a tendency to be really hard on themselves. And I want you guys to, yes, I want you to make the strides you need to move in a better direction. But I'd like you to do that without beating the hell out of yourself. That would be the preferred route. So please try to have a little bit more empathy for yourselves. You guys have taken on an incredible task by wanting to become a successful, competent, consistent trader. So keep this in mind. Keep in mind that you have stepped into the most competitive game on the planet with the smartest mofos in the world. And it might take you a little time, and it's going to ask everything of you. It is the ultimate school, in my experience so far, of a course of enlightenment there is out there. And you got to realize that if you're struggling, if there's challenges you're bumping into, all the things, the shadows about yourself that maybe you have yet to reconcile with, this is your opportunity to address them. Don't ignore them, because I promise the things you ignore, they're just going to cost you more, way more later. So if it feels like the right time to address them, hook me up, guys. Hit me up. Send me a DM, send me an email, reach out, and we will talk and see if the coaching that I do is a fit for you. Okay, great to see so many here. Gardy, thanks for coming in for the coaching. And most of all, thank you for reminding me of the Columbus Station subway stop, and that you taught goes to Alvin Alley. I'm so jealous of her. That is like the best school in all of New York City for dance. So, all right, guys, be well, and I'll see you all next